Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Joining me, as always, is my co-host from the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Double OT, Terrific Trav. How you doing today, Trav?
I'm here and we smiling.
Hey, we always smiling, just like that new movie that's coming out. Smile.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
I can't
so
wait
wholesome.
for that. Yeah.
Hey, and obviously, everybody that's watching, you can see we're down a man tonight. Sometimes the universe needs saving, and when all three of us can't do it, he gets the job done.
That's right.
Together we're three town, but tonight we're two and below. That's what I'll call us tonight.
Okay.
Two and below. I like that. It's like five below. But anyway, joining us on today's interview is voice actor Cory Yee. Cory, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's good to be here. I'm glad we could set it up.
Hey, I'm glad we could set it up too. Hey,
Out the
Trav hit me up.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, Cory's a busy man, but we got to get this interview done. And I was just like, set it up tonight. You know what I'm saying? And Cory, I just want to let you know that it's just like, you should be honored because your boy was going to go to the gym. And I was just like, you know what? We're interviewing Cory Yee tonight. So let's go ahead and interview Cory Yee. I'll go to the gym afterwards. So thank you so much for joining me.
I'm going to try to exercise after this too. And someone will hold me to it. One of my moms
I'm going to
something.
hold you to it.
Yeah, good.
But thank you so much, man. And before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D would always say, podcast link down below in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. And Trav, what is your tip of the day?
Hey, sometimes, you slide in those DMs and you don't get a response, but wait 6 months, slide back in, they might hit you up.
That's true. I always say, they either say yes,
take that tip with a grain of salt, because I don't want my words being twisted.
I am so sorry for missing your message.
Oh, don't sorry.
Hey, Cory, it's all good, man. Trav, now D always says some people slide and some people miss. And
whatever that means, we don't know.
We don't know. I think D took what Blade said, where some people are always trying to ice skate uphill. And was just like, yeah, I'm making my own thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into today's interview. So, Cory, the first question that I always ask all of our guests is, what is your origin story? Every hero or villain has one. Tell everybody who you are.
So I've always been a nerd, and I've always loved media in general, but it was mostly video games and animation, which I didn't really realize until later on. But I was always like a very introverted in high school until maybe senior year when I did musical theater. And so acting was like really important to me at the end of high school. But I actually, as a Chinese American, I never really thought that being an on-camera or stage actor was really a possibility just based on my physical appearance and who I was. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'll get into like production and do that. So I had done basically film production, every single job from like audio production, like mixing on set, to boom operating, to editing in the bay, and directing, and everything really under the sun. And after about a decade of that, I was like, this kind of sucks because there's all sorts of terrible things that happen in production. Not that I love and cherish everything that I did there, but like, it just wasn't really filling my soul the way that I wanted to.
I feel that.
Yeah.
And so I made some changes in my life and started really actively pursuing voiceover, which was, something that was kind of in the back of my mind. And like, I was always inspired by like different actors growing up, like Rob Paulson, who I'm sure you all know, and Robin Williams in Aladdin in particular. Among many of his other movies. But all those things were always in the back of my head, and I started really hitting it harder and harder. And so in 2019, I basically took my first workshop in a long time and was like, okay, I'm gonna get an agent and start auditioning tomorrow because I'm going to wow them so much. And I step into this thing, and it was at Voice Actors Network. That was at the time run by Ben Pronsky, with Stephanie Sutherland and Brittany Cox. And so I'm doing this thing and like thinking, okay, I'll do good job and show them up. But everyone in the room was so phenomenal that I was like humbled immediately and was like,
Right.
okay, I need to take this time to become a better actor. So I took the entire year, just like every single thing that I could do workshop wise, just like, okay, how can I become a better actor than I was before? And not trying to think too much about what other people were doing, because there's always going to be people who are like ahead of you on their journey in comparison or whatever. But it's like, everyone's on a different path. So I was just trying to do my own thing and learn at my own pace and try to become better. And that hard work ended up paying off. So later that year in like October, I was able to find some connections to getting an agent. Actually, I don't know if you know her, but Colette Sunderman, a very prolific voice director, she was very kind to me and was like, I'll listen to your stuff, and if I think it's good to send, I'll send it. So I got that connection, and she was like, okay, cool, I'll send it to some people I know. And the next day, or within the next week or so, I had like 6 agent meetings. And it was like such a crazy experience because it was all just happening so fast and so suddenly. And I was barely doing any real work at that point. But of course, I was starting to get more and more professional opportunities and whatnot. So, and that's what happened, I guess.
A little shocking that you said you took that workshop in 2019, and here we are in just 2022, and all these things already checked off.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's been a short ride, but I think a lot of my life in general has pushed me into even though it wasn't always professional experience, like watching actors on stage or on set, and learning how to create and tell stories was always something that I was doing anyway. So I think all of that experience has really prepared me for a lot of the things that I experience now. And I'm so thankful for that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was an awesome origin story, man. And, you had mentioned a couple of people in there, like, our good friend, Brittany Cox. We interviewed her up here on the podcast, and you can either listen to her episode or you can watch her video. It is up here on the channel. But, I think it's awesome that, voice acting was something that you always wanted to get into, and you took the steps to get into doing what you wanted to do. And then, just the catalog of things that you've done so far in your career, like, it's an amazing list of, man. And I just want to give you a pinkies up to that. One of the shows, it's 2 shows that you've done that I feel are underrated shows, but like they have a diehard fan base. And one of that is Records of Ragnarok, which I don't know. Like, I've heard rumors that there's a season 2 coming out, and I hope that there's a season. Yeah, I hope that there's a season 2, because it's like, I feel like people only talked about this anime because of the memes, with the chick and then the guys holding up.
Yes. That,
you know what I'm saying?
We were, when we were recording that, I think I had a couple scenes that were like intercut with her, and I was like, what was that? what was that?
It's funny, and it's like they're holding them up the entire time. I'm just like, wow. And like I said, I hope that gets a season 2. And then the other thing that you did was Scissor 7, and
Scissor 7. Oh my god!
I really wish that D was here, because D is the one. Like, he was the one that told us, like, we need to watch Scissor 7. And after we watched it, then we did the reviews for it and whatnot. I was just like, man, this show is awesome. And you were Boba Shin on that, which
Bobby, we call him Bobby Chen. I don't know if they actually ever even said his name in the show.
I don't think they did. I don't remember, man. I looked it up on the wiki, and I just know that when I saw him, because I'm a huge JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fan, I'm just like, this is a JoJo reference because of the outfit he has on.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
I mean, the whole show's ridiculous. So
I think because I hadn't watched the show at all at that point, and they just called me and they're like, hey, you're gonna play Bobby Chen, and I didn't know anything about it, so I was like, okay, I'll just roll with it. Like, this is not what I was expecting. And he's wearing this flamboyant outfit, but he's just so like confident in his thing. It's such a funny role compared to especially the main protagonist, who's so like chill by comparison. It's such a funny dynamic for that episode.
Yeah, man. No, it's crazy. But like, when I was saying the whole JoJo reference, because I don't know if you watch JoJo's Bizarre
I
Adventure.
don't, unfortunately.
But there's
nothing unfortunate about
it. No, you're missing out, man. I'm letting you know you're missing out. But there's a character there named Giorno Giovanni, and his outfit is the same one that.
That's
Bobby,
right.
Yeah,
I think I've seen that character. Do you know who the English voice actor for that character is?
I can look it up real quick because I need to slide in their DM so we can interview them. Talk while I look it up.
I feel like I know, but I'm not sure.
And I also think that whole cast is of Asian American descent too. I believe everybody on that cast, fits the mold of what the show is, and I just really respect that too. Again, we've always talked about diversity and how that's starting to really take off a little bit, way more than it was obviously 20 years ago when we were coming up watching anime and stuff like that. But I mean, I've always been such a huge fan of Ronnie Chang, and like when I found out he was the lead, I was like, okay, I'm already hooked on. I'm already into this,
Love it.
Okay, his name is and I hope that I'm pronouncing his last name right. It's Philip Reich.
That's Phil. Yeah, that's Philip. Okay, I thought it was Reich. Right. Yeah. We used to do like improv and stuff together. It's been a while since I've seen him, but yeah, he's a good dude.
So you also have the improv background.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I did a little. I didn't mention it earlier, but I did like improv in high school too. So like it's real. That's always been also very important to me as well.
Yeah, we've interviewed a couple of improv performers up here on the podcast. Ethan Gallardo. Alex Mai.
Yep, Alex Mai. Yeah. Like that's their background. Like a lot of people come up here and you mentioned Brittany Cox and Stephanie. I know Stephanie's been in theater her whole life. You know what I mean? So, but for him, it was like it really wasn't so much theater. Like he had this huge improv background, which is a whole nother. Slice of the pie for talent, and especially in the line of work that y'all do, just continuously coming up with stuff on the fly as you're recording.
I mean, some of that too, that was a great example with Bobby Chen is like I had no idea what was going to happen. And that's like all of our sessions. And even if we don't have to create new dialogue, we do have to make strong choices very quickly. Usually the director will help us, of course, but we have to come up with something for these guys that we maybe don't know anything about. And especially if they're like not the biggest characters, like, Bobby's only in like an episode. So like we had to make a choice quickly and because they're on a time schedule, so they're always fast.
Now I know like with that series, because I think season 3 had already came out, and I want to say we had got it like a year later.
It was like a year. Yeah,
a year or so later, man. And I want to ask you, like, what is your opinion on anime or cartoons that come out in other countries and like the whole waiting period of it? Because it's just like, there's some animes that we get where it's like it comes out in Japan and it comes out in America at the same time,
the simul dub
simulcast. Yeah. So like, what's your opinion on all of that? Like, I mean, would you prefer to do it as soon as it first comes out, or would you like to at least do your research on the stuff, after, being on Scissor 7 and didn't know anything about it? Would you like to do some research on it at first and then be prepared for the role, or just jump right into it?
We're very used to just jumping right into it, even if something has or hasn't been out, in such a time. Like, we don't always have the luxury to do that research anyway. So I don't really have a problem with not having that information. And if that means doing a simultaneous release of English and the original language or whatever, I'm totally fine with that. Like, really, for me, from the actor perspective, I'm like, just whatever you want to let me do, I'll do. We'll do as much research. And look, the bottom line is like the director, or maybe writers in the room, depending on, if it's a game or something, there will always be someone to give you the information you need and really plant you as well as possible into that role, because they want you to succeed, of course. So they're going to try to give you all the information that they can. And doing research on some things is difficult because sometimes it's just a code name until you're actually in the booth, so you wouldn't necessarily know. Maybe they'll send you something, but we just don't always have that luxury. So really it depends on the gig, of course, because sometimes they do tell you more information beforehand and let you read the script and give you a bunch of backstory or whatever. But it just depends if you're doing like a giant franchise, or if you're kind of like new to whatever the thing is and maybe it doesn't have as much information out there. So I'm fine with any level of information.
Now, what about something as prominent as like GhostWire Tokyo, right? Where it's a new game, it's very well reviewed, it's a gorgeous looking game, but when they're doing games like this, how often before are you coming in to do that dialogue before this game's even really fleshed out?
So when I first started recording, they were still finishing up their cinematics, but they did have everything recorded from the Japanese original. So I was working off the Japanese original, and he's amazing. So it was really, an honor to be able to do that and to see his performances. And, we have only really a couple spots where I kind of change it, so to speak, and it's not like an inappropriate change. It's just like a little bit more stylized to me. But for the most part, I'm like working off him and like trying to adapt it to obviously English and trying to put our own stamp on it without drastically altering it. But really, like, they had done a lot of the work because they had already done the performance capture for it, all of the a lot of the voiceover stuff, and they were trying to do their cinematics first, and then we would go back later and do more of just the standard voiceover stuff that doesn't necessarily require specific dubbing timing or animation or whatever. So that's kind of how that timeline ended up working out on that one.
Are you allowed to pinpoint kind of like that? Because this is what came out in March of
it was a March release, yeah.
So when were you doing those recordings?
It was probably about a year or so before. I don't remember the exact month and day, but it was probably about a year, maybe a little bit less.
So what's that like seeing it finally come out then, especially a game of that magnitude? There's not a whole lot of big PS5 titles yet,
I hope, I don't actually know what the end sales numbers were, but I of course hope it did really well. But like it was such a, that's one of my biggest games that I've starred in, so to speak. And I'm so thankful. It's always gratitude, it's just being like thankful that I got to do that at all. And I hope that a lot of people who love the game got to experience it in both English and Japanese, because I've played through the entire game on stream. Right. And I think it turned out great. Like, I don't have really like regrets about things. Sometimes you do something and you're like, oh man, I wish I could have done it better or whatever. But like, there's not like maybe like a line or two, but like, there's not much that I'm like, oh, I hated that, And I'm just like really proud of the work that we did. I'm proud like to have been able to work with the team there. And in particular, Chris Zimmerman Salter, who was our voice director, who's done so many amazing things. She really pushed me on certain things, and I'm so thankful that she did, because it was, sometimes it's exhausting, just screaming at the top of your lungs. Right. Like, I always joke, like, hey, if you want to check out this trailer, you can hear me scream. That's like pretty much the whole thing.
I mean, I was going to say, especially for a character whose body is being taken over by.
And like it's got horror elements to it, and like my character's mostly a normal dude, so he screams and has moments. But then you get to do awesome stuff. So it's such a great game. I hope that people get to play it.
Yeah, I know that's one of the things when it comes to, doing voiceover work in video games. Because I want to say, like, for anime or cartoons, you may just have to record those lines that you have, and then you just keep it moving. Whereas with video games, like, they might tell you, all right, you've been set on fire, and we need to get 300 reactions of being set on fire. So
they have to get every possibility out there, even if a player never experiences in their playthrough. It's in the files, but the anime, like, all right, it's whatever's on screen, and that's you need more than that. So that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, because I know one of my favorite things in X-Men, the arcade game, is I love playing with Colossus, and I can't remember what level it is, but whenever it's the level where you can, if you fall off the cliff, you die and whatnot.
Oh my God.
I just love taking Colossus, and you can only do this if you bought the game on the Xbox 360 or the PS3. Okay. But in the Japanese version of the game, like you have more health. Like in the American version, it's just like you only like 3 times you're dead.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I love that they had that option on the game, on the console game. So with Colossus, I would just keep going and just jumping off the cliff because for some odd reason I just loved hearing him scream. I know it's a messed up thing to do, but it's just
it's a Banks thing to do though.
It was the Banks thing to do, but it's just the same voice. Now, can you imagine like if they had like over 300 recordings of him screaming?
God, that would be nice. Some of those old arcade games, you need at least 3 or 4, but they only have the one. Wait, are you talking about the original, like the version that had the wide 6-person version?
Yeah.
I remember Colossus when you used his superpower.
All right, so look, in the Japanese version of the game. All right, you know, in the American version, when you use your special, it takes your health away, right?
Oh, it's such bullcrap. It's such bullcrap.
In the Japanese version, you don't lose any health.
What?
Yeah, because they wanted our money.
They wanted you to spend those quarters, dude. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Like, because
That's remember dirty.
And in the Japanese version, they had health pickups and mutant pickups. But in the American version, it's just like, nope. You play a couple times.
You gotta pay. You gotta pay. It was a fun game, but boy, did they take your quarters. I remember that very specifically. I was like, I'm not gonna use my power.
Go ahead, Trav.
No, I was gonna say I gotta bring this up because you mentioned health pickups, and we're getting a resurgence of those 2D. You know, Streets of Rage 4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just came out. Are coming out. What's your favorite health pickup noise from any game? Because for me personally, when Tekken 3 came out and they had the side-scroll mini game that you could play, bro, the chicken was like my stuff back in the day. I loved that chicken. So I don't know if y'all got like a memorable one in your head where it's like,
it's hard for me to not say pizza time. It's hard for me to not say that. That's definitely everything in Turtles. Like my toes. Like that's my. You know.
Did you like Hyperstone Heist or the Nintendo original version better?
I remember it being Turtles in Time at the arcade. I didn't have my first like Nintendo console that I owned was like Game Boy Pocket and N64. So I never got to own those. I was jealous of all my friends who had you know those things, but I never had one. So it was only the arcade really that I ever played.
Hey, I mean, I totally understand that. I didn't get a Super Nintendo until like I was a teenager in high school, and you know by that time PS2 and all that stuff was already out. But I did have a Sega Genesis because Sega does what Nintendo.
That's right, and that's why Hyperstone Heist is the only thing Turtles in Time had that Hyperstone Heist in it was you could throw the foot into
the screen. Yes.
And I was like, man, that's so cool. I wish Hyperstone Heist had that. But yeah, I was definitely more partial to Hyperstone Heist.
Okay.
So Cory, you know, the next question I want to ask is because, you know, I do a little segment here on the side of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. I mean, I guess it's still Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, but it's under the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks umbrella. And it's called Who's That Cosplayer? And pretty much I interview cosplayers and whatnot. And, you know, everybody tells their stories on how they got into cosplay. And I see that, you know, you and your brother,
yes,
y'all are a cosplay duo, the Brothers Yee cosplay.
It's been some time since I've done it, unfortunately, but yes, we loved cosplaying, and he still does. He's got a family though, you know, it's the whole thing.
Right. Family guy now. Hey, I get it. I mean, you know, hey, that's what happens, man. But you know, since we're talking about cosplay now, like, what was it that made you? I mean, I guess we could, you know, bring up your brother too. Like, what was it that made you guys want to get into cosplaying?
Well, I mean, I think it was around like 2007 or 8 where like my brother was just like, hey, like to me and some friends, like, hey, do you guys want to go to like Comic-Con? It's like this thing like nerdy people do things. And like, I had always grown up going to Star Trek conventions with my dad and brother and family. And we would dress up in the Next Generation uniforms usually.
Right.
So we were kind of cosplaying when we were young anyway, but Star Trek uniforms, you know, being a little low key and, you know, back in the day. But so we wanted to start doing things more cosplay and nerdy. So I started with like Link just because I was like, oh, I love like, you know, Legend of Zelda and all that stuff. Yeah. But later on, it became a thing where I more wanted to cosplay as characters that I wanted to act as. And I come from like the actor perspective, and then of course in hindsight that makes perfect sense. But you know, for my brother, he would go in like the crafting perspective, and he would try to make the coolest costumes. And sometimes we'd combine those efforts into one. So like the examples of that is like one of my favorite cosplays is just a basic Spider-Man. We kind of based it off of the Sam Raimi original movie costume, so it was like the more like the slightly shinier and like big spider on the chest, and I would just go run up to people and, you know, just act like a dork, you know, basically, and sling puns at people, and that's what I would do just to have fun, and you know, take pictures or whatever. And then my brother, he made this full Sentinel from the X-Men like costume, so he was like
wild.
I saw the picture, man. It's dope.
Yeah, it's on the Instagram, and like, you know, he usually attaches figures like there, so it's like the small little X-Men battling him as he's walking around.
That's cool.
So he definitely has done all sorts of crazy stuff. He also did like a great Mega Man X, award-winning actually. So that was a thing, and like, but one of my other costumes that I did was Doctor Doom.
Cool.
We were big on Marvel. Dope, yeah, and like we were really, you know, it's all foam, you know, which is great, except for a few 3D printed parts. But the whole idea was just like, okay, that's another character I can act as. And, you know, people would be like, oh man, your costume's fantastic. And I'd be like, don't say fantastic.
I love that. And that's one of the cool things about cosplay. And I say this all the time when I'm interviewing cosplayers on Who's That Cosplayer, is that when you cosplay, you're that character. You know, some people, they take the role serious because it's, in a way, you're acting, you know? And it's just like, and Trav can say, whenever I cosplay as Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Deku from My Hero Academia, like, I am those characters. Like, if I see another character that's in the same universe as mine, like, I'll acknowledge them. And then heroes or villains, especially for My Hero Academia, when we were at Tidewater Comic-Con, there were 3 cosplayers cosplaying as Toga, and I was just like, hey, can we get a picture together where you guys are surrounding me, because they all love Deku, and you know, I'm just scared. But I mean, I love cosplay, I really do. And have you seen Multiverse of Madness?
Yes, I have.
Okay, because I just wanted to ask you, because I didn't want to spoil anything.
All good. Like,
hey, we saw Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic.
We did.
Yo, I have been waiting for Dr. Doom to finally make his appearance in the MCU.
1000%. Dude, to be honest, like, I was like, when, like, before even the Fox merger or purchase happened, I was just like, you know, like, I love the Fantastic Four, they're great, but really all I care about is the Avengers versus Dr. Doom. That's all I care about. Obviously I'm fine with all of them being around, but like, that's like, he's such a great villain without being like Thanos Galactus level villain. He's just such a good villain. So I hope we get to see him soon.
Hey, and when we get to see him, man, please don't kill him off, because it's like, you know, Marvel, they love to bring villains in and then kill them, and I'm just like, no, like, you can bring them back again. You know,
hopefully he'll have Loki type longevity.
He needs to.
Because he doesn't even have to be a straight up bad guy the whole time. He could just be a dude who's messing people up and doing his own thing, but he doesn't have to be just a straight up bad guy. He's always got his own agenda for what he thinks is right, and that's what, you know, I always say for Dr. Doom, he's kind of a dick, but he's got a point.
He has some points, and then he has the diplomatic immunity, so it's just nothing can happen to him because, you know, he has his, you know, he pretty much runs his own country. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that we get to see him. I don't know who's gonna play him, but I know whoever plays him, like, I just hope that they knock it out of the park, because, you know,
I'm sure they will.
I enjoyed the Fantastic Four movie, the 2004 and 2007 one. Like, even though the 2007 one wasn't that good, I still enjoyed it for what it was, you know.
Sure.
But I still haven't seen the 2014
Fan-4-Stick.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I did. I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to.
It's wild because I think it was that movie and Ghostbusters Answer the Call both came out the same year, and I was just like, man, it's like I don't know which movie had more hate on the internet. I know both of them had a lot of hate, but
I would say Ghostbusters, honestly. I think when they dropped that Ghostbusters trailer, it was the most disliked video in YouTube history.
See, Fantastic Four doesn't generate as much hatred because people are like, it's whatever. It's gonna be bad, so they're gonna be like, whatever, we don't care. But Ghostbusters was ready to be attacked, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people are hating on the new Ghostbusters.
I haven't seen it. Is it good?
I didn't see it.
I loved it. But I also understand they're not doing anything new with the franchise, so I understand some of the hate. They're just recycling.
I've seen a lot of people kind of hating on Marvel on Twitter recently.
Mm-hmm. I have too.
I get really sad by that because, like, I don't know. It's just always been my home, and like, yes, like some things aren't as good as other things, but you know, in my opinion, anything past Endgame is just gravy. But we've had we've had some awesome movies. Like Spider-Man was just way too fun to ever be sad about.
But people have been hating on that too. I'm just like, y'all.
Yeah, like, dude. I mean, like, to be perfectly frank, like if you go back and watch the older movies, like there's that same level of like camp and. They're of their time, and I always respect those movies. Even X-Men, those movies, like they have a lot of problems, but like, you know, they paved the way, and that's what I respect about them. But at the same time, like, yes, they're just not. I just don't think they're as good movies. I don't think they as fundamentally understand the characters as much as the MCU does.
Yeah.
But you know, that's
I agree with you on that. You know, to keep talking about this subject, like I had.
Well, yeah, because I got a question myself too.
Because I think his fandom had posted something about Miss Marvel had the lowest viewership out of all of the Disney Plus shows. And I'm loving Miss Marvel.
Yeah,
but they also said that it is only doing popular and people of color households. And I'm like, wow. So that's pretty interesting that, you know, some people don't want to watch the show just.
But that's not completely what they said.
I mean, I'll pull up the thing, but
what they said was they saw a rise in numbers for that show from people of color households. Like those numbers have risen in those households from other previous shows. They didn't say less white people are watching it. They just said more people of color are watching this show. But I think it's the best Disney. I don't know if you've seen it, Corey.
I actually haven't. I haven't been keeping up as much.
It's the best MCU show.
I gotta catch up. Honestly, it's been too long.
So fun. Well, so that's what I was gonna ask you then. Since Endgame and this new Phase 4, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's because for me, I think this is the best phase we've ever gotten.
Really? Okay.
I'm gonna say all of that. But...
You know what? People can kind of say what they want about Eternals, and I get it. I enjoy Eternals, but I get your standard MCU fans not enjoying Eternals. But I'm a film guy, so I really enjoyed Eternals. But I just think everything they've put out is gold since Endgame. And there's some movies prior to where I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of them.
I really liked Phase 3 a lot, so it's hard for me to not just love Phase 3. I think Phase 2 had some really good. I mean, every phase has some really good hits,
stinkers,
and some that aren't as good. But you know, Corey, I'm thinking about like the television stuff, like because like I really liked What If actually as one of my favorite shows.
A lot of people didn't like it though.
Me, not so much.
Yeah,
and that's fine. I totally get why too, and I'll admit the pilot was not great, but in my opinion, but I think that the rest of that series was very fascinating, and I love the Watcher, so it was cool.
Right.
What was your favorite episode from What If?
I mean, I kind of just watched it all at once, so I legitimately watched all of it. So I was like, well, it's kind of all just blurs together. I kind of enjoyed Party Thor. That was just really funny.
That was one of the few ones I really did enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there was a lot of people that weren't fans of that.
Yeah, I don't think. Ben's was a fan of it, right?
It's kind of goofy, but like I think that's what makes it great. I think that's what makes it great. I also loved the Guardians stuff with like Thanos being like, everything with T'Challa was amazing.
Rest in peace, man.
I know, God, it was like I didn't think that I was gonna get hit emotionally, but they had the card at the end, and it just like, it hurt. It still hurts when you think about like just what. Well, you all know.
I know, man.
But you know, as far as the other shows are concerned, I really liked WandaVision a lot. Though I definitely have questions on how it led to Doctor Strange and how that ended up being, but like I kind of just accept it. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I felt was a good show. Had some issues as well, but you know, I think it could have been stronger. But ultimately, it was a good story to tell, and was basically what it needed to be. And then I really disliked Loki.
A lot of people do.
I thoroughly dislike Loki because I felt like it had a really strong, cool start, and then just never really went anywhere that made any sense to me.
Trav loved Loki, though.
I love Loki, but I'm also biased to it because I don't think I've ever watched anything with Tom Hiddleston in it and said, I don't like Tom Hiddleston. You know what I mean? Like
he's great. I think it was all writing issue. I don't think any of the actors had any, like, I think they were all good actors and did great stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it got good once it got towards the end. But I just feel like that first episode, it was just like, okay, well, what's going to happen next? And then it's just like, I don't know. I feel like I was expecting more, and it really didn't deliver compared to WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, you know, ever since Falcon, Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Marvel What If, I feel like they really haven't put out a really good show until Miss Marvel came out, in my opinion. You know, I mean, I've liked Moon Knight, I've liked Hawkeye, and I feel like something else is.
I did like Hawkeye a lot, actually.
Oh, I loved Hawkeye.
I liked Hawkeye a lot. And I'm so glad to see, you know, that and Spider-Man, obviously, we're getting certain characters to come back.
Yeah.
From Netflix shows that I'm extremely happy about, because those are some of the best.
Right. And I don't want to, man, we've already spent way too much time on this MCU stuff.
I just love MCU.
I just do want to say one thing that I really love that they did in Hawkeye was my biggest thing about the Avengers was this doesn't make any sense. These guys are human, and they're like, Iron Man makes sense because he's got the suit and stuff, but Black Widow and Hawkeye, they're still at the end of the day just regular human dudes fighting with aliens. So like, I like in Hawkeye how they were like, no, it's really taking a toll on him. Like he can't hear, you know, his body's broken down. And I was like, thank you for addressing that. Because it had to be addressed. This man shouldn't be doing what he's doing.
I think they kind of did a little bit of that in each Avengers film as well, where they are physically overwhelmed. I mean, like, you know, Natasha even is like, these guys are gods, like, just don't let them do their thing, you know, to Captain America. And so, you know, I they acknowledge it, but I totally get what you mean. Like, you get to see those effects on him psychologically and physically, and it was good. I liked it a lot.
Okay,
I'll go ahead.
No, I was gonna switch. You know, I was gonna pull a Owen Wilson in Cars. You know, we gonna take a turn a little bit, and I just wanted to bring up, you know, one of the hottest games. Unfortunately, D's not with us because he's a huge Genshin Impact fan. Yeah. But you know, you got the new character General Goro, man. I'm always gonna mess it up. I'm gonna say Goro.
It's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, tell us about that, because you're just that cast is extraordinary. Everybody that voices a character was like born to voice this character.
Yeah, that's what we always
again
hear.
With you, they hit the what is it? They hit the nail on the head or whatever.
I was gonna say the head on the nail, but
the head on the nail or something like that. We don't know what it is.
I mean, Goro is someone who's very special to me in many ways, because like, you know, at first, when you first meet him in the game, without giving too many spoilers, I guess, you don't learn too much about his personal backstory. He's kind of just in this war. You know, he's a general, and he's fighting a lot. And we only really learn more about his personality and some of the things that he's gone through later on when he's got a full quest series, which was like multiple patches later.
Right.
So, but when I started reading that script and that whole like thing where it was much more detailed, I really started understanding exactly why I was cast, almost from that like Destiny perspective. Because like one of his lines, which is one of my favorite things, it's basically the summary of it is he is always willing to listen to you and try his best. And he may not always have the right answer, but he's going to do his best. And that's something I resonate a lot with, where it's like, dude, I don't have all the answers. And I'm not going to be so bold or even arrogant enough to say that I do. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try. And I'm going to always try my best as much as I can. And so that resonated a lot with me. And he's also, it's funny because like if you listen to the Japanese version with the Japanese dub or even the Chinese dub, the original, there's a certain type of way he deals with being flustered by embarrassment. And so like my version's different, and I feel mine's more the American nerd style, where I'm like, I'm more like the nervous, get it inward, and the other one's like, how dare you say that to me, you know, like that sort of thing. So it's like we've each brought our own dynamics to the character, and I'm so thankful because they're both valid for this character. They both totally work,
and valid for their respective countries.
On
you know what that audience resonates.
Yeah, there's kind of a cultural thing. I think, you know, either one works for everyone, but I think there is that, like, that's what I see in my own American experience, and I think that it resonates.
And you would know from adapting a script, you know, in a lot of these animes, it's some of the jokes just don't hit the same over here as they do over there, because it's a culture thing.
There are definitely cultural things that happen every now and then. We do have to kind of word things differently or whatnot, especially coming from, you know, just that cultural difference. And sometimes it's appropriate to make that change and sometimes it's not. We always have to make that call.
Nice.
So, you know, I want to ask you now, because you've voiced like so many interesting characters and whatnot, what have been, you know, some of your favorite animes that you've enjoyed watching over the years or watching currently? And like, who are some of the voice actors on those series that have, you know, in some ways inspired you?
I would say one of the most defining shows of my lifetime is Cowboy Bebop, for sure. Nice. 1000%. Obviously it's on the older side, but it's a classic and ages and will age into it forever. It
just throws me through a loop when people are like, it's on the older side, and I'm like,
I know.
You know, for me,
yeah, for me it's not, but yeah,
it's prominent.
Well,
to my childhood.
I mean, you know, 2002. No,
you forget.
I want to say like 2000, but it came out like in the 90s.
Yeah. The movie came out in 2000. The show came out like 97.
Yeah.
But even now, like on the radio, they'll play songs from the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's on the classic station.
Okay, yeah, that's a little much, I think.
Like old, man.
You guys don't have to hurt us that badly.
Right. It's just like, you're like, and then same thing on the hip hop stations, like on the classic hip hop station, they'll play Drake up there. I'm just like, Drake isn't classic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just in terms of like, you know, I don't really keep up too much with modern anime, even within the past decade necessarily. So, but the most formative shows for me, it was Cowboy Bebop and probably Prince of Tennis, which is fun because I got to, you know, be on that new version.
Right? Yeah.
But Cowboy Bebop always was like this, just like, this is the definition of cool. It's essentially what Miles Davis, I think, was thinking, you know, with the birth of the cool. Like, it's so like, it's so cool to like see all of that and just like always look back to that being such a mixture of drama and style and moments of levity. There's so many great moments of levity in that show, and it doesn't take itself seriously until it needs to, and then it does.
Yes.
I agree with you on that.
The perfect balance, in my opinion. So that's always been my favorite show, and getting to see, because I originally watched it subbed, And then I watched it dubbed, and I was like, these are both great. I love all of them. And you know, Steve Bloom, I would say, would be an early inspiration. This guy who didn't even necessarily mean to jump into voice acting, and then did, just because like, this is amazing, and he found and discovered this amazing thing, and like, also because, not that we were the same age exactly, but he didn't find it till later in life, you know. And I also, you know, I'm in my 30s, and like a lot of people, they know that they want to do voice acting in their 20s.
Yeah.
And while it would have been cool to see what that version of Cory would have been, who discovered voice acting earlier and maybe would be further in his career now, I think it's so important that I have the experiences that I had. That makes me the unique person I am now, that's different from other people. And everyone's got their story to tell. And so I think it's just cool that like, that he was able to find what he loved at a time that maybe wasn't in the earliest part of his life, and I resonate with that as well. Having done that,
that's a lot of that.
Two things I want to say about that is that, first off, we interviewed Bo Billingsley, who voices Jet Black on Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
and you can check out his interview. It is up here on our YouTube, or you can listen to it on the podcast. And then the second thing is that we recently interviewed Gerald Hill, who is a voice actor, and he pretty much said the same thing that you said, Cory, because he got into voice acting at a later age. He's in his 30s as well, and it's one of the things that he said is that, man, if I wasn't so afraid to have gotten into voice acting when I was younger, like, just imagine what I could have done now. But at the same time, to get into it at the age that I am, and to be having fun with it, and to be getting roles, you know, it's a blessing. So I feel like, you know, sometimes, I say this all the time too, there's no age limit on what you can type, you know. It's just, absolutely, you know, sometimes 100%. Some people, they get into it just like that, and then sometimes, you know, people, they have other priorities, they have other things that they have to take care of. He's a comic book artist, you know, so he focused on his comic book stuff, and now he's doing voice acting, and he's still working on comic book stuff. So sometimes you just have to, you know, I was trying to think of a Pocahontas reference. What's the song in the movie?
Which one?
The main one. I can't remember what it's called.
Colors of the
Voices
Wind?
of the Mountain, or Colors of the Wind too?
Colors of the Wind. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind, man?
There you go.
I like Pocahontas, but it wasn't my top 5. But
it's also another one too, that as you get older, and man, you know, things didn't happen the way they've happened in the last week, I would say, as we progress as a country. But as a lot of us have progressed as individuals, I will say, not necessarily this country, I will say that you start to find things that are problematic, and Pocahontas is just obviously one of those ones where, you know, you go back and watch, and you're like, oh, that's a little problematic. And who would have known that, you know, Mel Gibson would be part of that big problem too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it's
being
crazy,
the person
man.
he is today. So
I feel like that's the reason why I never watched the second movie. You know?
No.
There's probably multiple reasons why you didn't watch the second movie.
Yeah, it is multiple reasons, but I mean, to piggyback off of what Trav was saying about like stuff being problematic, because of course, as a kid, you're just like, oh wow, they came out with a sequel to Pocahontas.
Yeah,
but then you get older and just like, oh, okay.
It's like, I probably don't need to watch this.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say, I did watch the Hunchback of Notre Dame sequel, and I really wish that I hadn't watched that because it was not that good. And
well, you know, Disney did a lot of those home video.
I would say, you know, I think the animation doesn't hold up super well for the second Aladdin movie, but I still very much enjoy
it's good.
it.
I'm a fan of Return to Jafar.
All 3 of them.
I like the third one too. Return to Jafar. And
Jason Alexander was
yes,
the bird, right?
Oh no, he's the dude.
Oh, he's the genie.
No. Jason Alexander's the larger, like, kind of chubby short dude who finds Jafar. He finds Jafar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's whatchamacallit. And I'm mad he just
Gilbert Gottfried, I think, was still around. He was still there.
Oh, okay, he still did it. Because I know they replaced Robin Williams, but they brought him back for King of Thieves.
That's
then
right.
Who was the genie in the second one?
It was it? I want to say it was
look it up.
Hank Azaria, but
oh, really?
Return.
I'm looking it up right now too. You're typing faster than me.
You gotta love the snowballs.
This is Dan Castellaneta. Yes. It's one of those people who's in The Simpsons, I think. Right, Dan Castellaneta. He was actually still very good. But it's hard to replace. Robin Williams. But he was very good. He was very good in the movie,
especially with that role, because Robin Williams has a lot of stuff I really like Robin Williams' comedy. I love Miss Doubtfire. The first 5 minutes of Miss Doubtfire of him being the radio guy making all the noises is some of my favorite stuff ever.
It's so good.
It's insane how much stuff he can do. But I'm a level with you. I really love him in like Good Will Hunting and Patch Adams. And he's an incredible actor. Like, I know he's funny, but Jesus, he can do anything. Incredible.
He really could. Yeah. He was, like I said, he was a big inspiration for me growing up, just because, in the 90s, like all the stuff that he was in. I think Mrs. Doubtfire and Aladdin were the ones that really stick to my mind in particular, because he does bring the genie as well. In addition to Mrs. Doubtfire, it's the comedy plus the really important emotional moments, and that's what's so inspiring about it, because it doesn't always have to be just straight up drama sadness, but like it's all of those things. It's the whole picture.
Well, then, unfortunately D's not here, but that also gives me the chance to, steal his thunder, ask this question as we come to the end. We like to ask these 2 questions. I'm going to ask the first one, but before I do that shirt, I need you to show off that shirt a little bit, because that like an axe or something?
It's a cat. It's a cat. It's a Nekomata. It's
halfway cut off. I thought it was some dude holding a giant axe or something.
No, it's a cat. No, it's a Nekomata from Ghostwire Tokyo. Okay. They are the little vendors in the convenience stores.
Oh, okay.
Cats.
That's awesome. But okay, then it's pretty much irrelevant to my question, but let me ask you this. Growing up, was there anything that scared you, spooked you, stuck with you? I don't know how much of a horror guy you are, but not even movie related. I didn't know if, grandma had a creepy doll in the kitchen, or,
I will be on one movie that scared the bejesus out of me. I was very young. Or just very stupid.
I love how you said bejesus, too.
Yeah.
This reminds me of B movie.
Do you all remember it was the Leslie Nielsen movie that was a vampire movie? I'm trying to remember the name of it.
No, I don't remember it was a vampire movie.
It might have been a Mel Brooks movie.
He was a vampire in the movie.
Yeah, he was. Yes. It was a comedy. Dracula? I think it was Dracula. Yeah, it was Dracula something.
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yes.
I never seen that.
I must have been either a child or just mentally a child, because for whatever reason it really scared me, even though it was a straight up comedy. Even though I very specifically remember a scene where he was sucking the blood out of someone and you hear like the slurping straw noise, and apparently this movie scared the heck out of me, and I hated vampires for a very long time. I think I understand why now, but yeah, for some reason vampires always scared me. I hated the idea of being turned into something that I would be forced to do evil.
I like that. That's something that I think about too when it comes to like becoming a werewolf or a
zombie.
Zombie. Yeah, you have to kill your loved one.
How often do you think about this is what I want to know.
Oh, it's all done now. We're adults. But like, no joke, as a kid, I would like keep the covers over my neck, because like, at least this will stop them.
It's just like I can see him coming into your room and he's just smiling. Like,
I know.
Everything's gonna be all right, and then he goes to bite into.
Yeah, I was like, I got him. That'll stop him.
On the flip side, you also have I don't know if you know who Park Chan-wook is. He's a Korean director, but he has this movie called Thirst that's about vampires, but the vampires that don't want to hurt people and like living with that condition and like just what it does to you, and it hurts, So
I appreciate the concept of the vampire who's like, no, I gotta be good. Yeah, some of this I rewatched Buffy the Vampire Slayer later when I was an adult. I was like, there's some really cool, interesting ideas about vampires in this show.
Mm-hmm. And there's something else too when we're talking about problematic, where Joss is problematic, but it's like he's created so much really good stuff.
It's
that, I think everybody has their what's the word I'm looking for? Like
the demons.
No. I mean, like, you enjoy things even though it's a problem. People that still listen to R. Kelly.
Yeah, I get
like,
that.
You know what a horrible person he is, but you grew up on it, you love it, and
it's a weird thing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Corey.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, because like Firefly, you ask any of those actors, and as far as I know, all of them are like, I mean, yes, he had an ego, but like he didn't treat them poorly. But then you hear about some of the stuff about the people in Angel and Firefly,
especially
and
now.
Justice League.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh god. So it's really bizarre. But sorry, I interrupted you there, Benjamin.
No, you're fine, man. No, I was just gonna say I was literally just having this conversation with somebody about I think it was one of my friends. Oh no, shit. Sorry. It was a date that I just went on. And we were looking at because I talked with so many people, sometimes I forget, but we went to this arcade and they were selling vinyls there, and she had saw one of the vinyls for Elvis, and I was just like, are you gonna go see the Elvis movie? And she was like, no, I don't want to see it because Elvis was very problematic. And I told her, I was just like, yeah, I know there's a lot of people that's still gonna go see it and they're excited to see it and whatnot.
I mean, it's Baz Luhrmann, so.
And I would like R. Kelly, for example. When I was younger, I used to love R. Kelly, and then it's just like you see all the stuff that he did, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm not a fan of him anymore. I'm not gonna listen to his music. And it's weird how like sometimes it's like people can see like all the problematic stuff, and it's just like, oh, we're still gonna support him because it's like I love their music, or I loved him as a director, I loved him as an actor. So it's wild, man. This country we live in is wild.
I think there's always like different shades of like what someone did, and everyone has to make that determination for themselves.
Yeah, that's literally what I always say. Make that determination for yourself.
It depends like why you're not gonna do it. Like, are you gonna not watch them because someone told you that they're not worthy and you didn't make that decision for yourself, or are you genuinely like, no, they did this thing and I really don't support them now? And I think that's important. Like, obviously there's lots of problematic people that we shouldn't support out there, but I don't know if I can give up Firefly. So
I feel you. I mean, and like that's the same thing with Aquaman too, because like when all the stuff was going on with Amber Heard, and I was just like, man, I really don't know if I want to watch this movie now, because it's like I don't want to watch something and so pretty much give her money for all the stuff that she did. But then it's like
you heard all those other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like it's like those other people that worked on the movie, they shouldn't be punished because of what one person did. And that's the same thing that's going on right now with Ezra Miller and the Flash movie. Like, you finally got Michael Keaton back as Batman, and it's just like we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that whole thing looks like insanity. I don't even know like what's going on over there.
It's insanity.
I don't know, but we can go ahead and move to the other question.
The final question.
The final question.
Okay.
So the other question is, what is one of your favorite 80s or 90s movie, or both? Because he always says both, even after he asks one.
80s or not, specifically 80s or 90s.
Yes,
specifically.
I mean, it's hard not to say Empire Strikes Back then for 80s, of course. But the 80s had everything from Spielberg. Was pretty much amazing in the 80s. You have E.T.
Yeah.
And you got
90s.
Raiders. Yeah, that's right. And then 90s, 90s still has Jurassic Park in it. It's also hard for me to not say all of the Disney movies in the 90s. You got Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and Aladdin being some of my top favorites. And you still have everything in between, plus like Mulan, I love. So those are some of my favorites. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and then Disney stuff. It's pretty much mine. And then, I mean, Pixar too. Had some really amazing movies. In obviously starting in the 90s. So I mean, those are incredible. Though I do love more modern Pixar more than original Pixar, but not because original Pixar is bad, just because I love modern that much.
Like the representation and stuff, you know?
Yeah, well, it's Inside Out for me. It's always Inside Out is my top.
Thank you. It's so underrated. It's so good.
Pixar movie. Makes me weep multiple times in the movie every time. But Coco is like a number 2 on that. Coco is so freaking good. And then the Incredibles is like there as like a favorite, but I don't think it's as good as those other 2 movies I just mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. Are you a 4-townie?
Yeah, sure. I really liked Turning Red. When it came out and all of the controversy, whatever stupid bullcrap was going around.
Hold on. What controversy?
No, about the
mostly just people being dumb more than actual controversy. Like
because I didn't
hatred
hear
of
anything
it.
about
no, there was tons of it was teaching kids.
Okay, I know now.
Honestly, it's so stupid. I don't remember specifically what it was.
I know. It was the stuff with the period stuff.
Basically, anything that had reference to periods or anything that had reference to like drawing, fanficky type stuff, and I was like, have you not met kids?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, especially kids going through hormones.
Yeah. And then the other thing,
so dumb.
Them being boy crazy over 4-town. I'm just like, yo, when we were younger, like we all were obsessed with some artist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Backstreet Boys and NSYNC would show up at TRL.
Seriously.
And it was just a sea of girls. Like young girls.
Yeah. That's what they do. I was like, what do you mean this isn't reality?
Teen Bop magazines were huge in the 90s.
Exactly. And and this movie was what, 2002 was the setting year?
2002,
And it's like that's when I was like, I was in the high school at the time, or something, and it's like, I remember all this happening. I don't understand. I just assume that these people don't, either culturally they never met anyone like that, or they just they're blind. They're blind to it because there's no freaking way. There's no way.
They didn't grow up doing that. I mean, because
they just forget where they came from.
That too.
Well, I just know like some of my friends and even my cousin growing up, like certain things they weren't allowed to watch. They weren't allowed to watch certain video games.
Gotta watch out for that Yu-Gi-Oh.
Man, I remember.
I love Yu-Gi-Oh.
That Illuminati right there gets you.
Illuminati. Yeah, my aunt, she saw the Yu-Gi-Oh. She said, no, that's not allowed in my house. I mean, because you got to remember too, like some people grew up in like very strong religious households. So it's just like, no, I'll always remember when I was over at my aunt and uncle's house and I was trying to look up something for Final Fantasy 9. And my uncle saw what I was looking at. He was like, "Do you know what a chimera is?" And I was just like, "I said, yeah, it's a monster in Final Fantasy." And it's like, "No, it's satanic." And I was just like, I was like, Uncle Brad, I'm just trying to get some codes. I'm just trying to get some codes for Final Fantasy.
Hey, also before you wrap this up, Banks, I lied. I got one more question. Because you brought up both Star Wars or Star Trek, which one?
Both. Absolutely both.
You can't pick them.
No, because space fantasy versus science fiction for sure. And they're both great genres. And Star Wars has always been, my rock from like music to loving it with, like my brothers specifically. We just loved Star Wars. I was Luke, he was Han. And like that's just what we loved. But Star Trek as well. Next Generation is some of the most intellectual and amazing television that's been around, and I always loved Next Generation. Picard.
You watching Picard?
I actually didn't watch Picard because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the sequel / prequel.
It's so good. It's so good.
It scares me, but I will do it. I don't have a Paramount Plus subscription.
Hey,
I'm gonna let you know. Neither do I.
Hey, we know that.
I'll figure it. I'm sure my brother has it, but
I'm a Deep Space Nine guy personally.
Deep Space Nine is amazing. I think
it gets way too much hate. It's the best Star Trek in my opinion.
Wait, who's hating Deep Space Nine?
Hey, the internet.
Well, I'd say those people should stop because I actually I rewatched Deep Space Nine within the past year or so, just like kind of slowly over time. It's like my eat food, watch TV show, and like It's great, honestly.
Deep Space Nine was the one where The Rock was up there, right? Or was that Voyage?
Huh? Where The Rock?
Yeah.
The wrestler?
The Rock was on. Yeah.
No,
y'all don't remember?
The Rock's not in Deep Space Nine.
Not in Deep Space Nine.
Was he on Voyage then?
I've never.
Which one was the one where the girl was the captain with the blonde hair?
That was wait, with the blonde hair?
Yeah, what did she have blonde hair?
Well, there was 7 of 9 was in Voyager, and she was like the hot Borg lady.
It was Voyager.
I was gonna say, are you mixing up Battlestar Galactica?
No. It was Star Trek Voyager. I just Googled it. He was up there because I remember
The Rock was in
there. Wait, when did that happen?
You guys don't remember at all. At the time, remember SmackDown was on UPN.
And Voyager was on.
That's true.
And they used to have the rest.
Okay, no, I remember this episode now. Okay, I do remember this episode.
I said she had blonde hair.
I'm sorry, I do.
Yeah.
No, that's wild,
because he was a wrestler.
And I think was Deep Space Nine on Sci-Fi?
No, it was on UPN.
It was on UPN too. Which one was on Sci-Fi?
I'm sure something ended up on Sci-Fi.
Something was definitely on Sci-Fi. I just can't remember.
Maybe Enterprise. I don't know.
No, Enterprise was on UPN too.
Yeah, okay.
All of that because UPN was the home of Star Trek.
UPN had
home of Star Trek.
I remember, like honestly, and I was just talking about this on Saturday too. The Next Generation, which I feel is the Star Trek that got a lot of people who didn't watch it at the time.
Well, of course, it's just like the original Star Trek for the kids coming up in the 60s.
Yeah,
that was our Star Trek coming up. In the 90s.
In the 90s,
But the reason why I liked it, because I don't know what it was, but when I was a kid, like I was obsessed with bald people. I don't know why. So it's like that was the only reason why I was watching Star Trek Next Generation.
And he still looks the same.
He still looks the same.
It is wild to me.
You know what I'm saying? And same thing when Leslie Nielsen was still alive. He looked like I have never seen him with like his original hair color, and I'm mad I can't remember the actor's name. He was in he's the guy on The Office. David. He's in Anchorman, the one with the cowboy hat. What is his name?
Oh, you're talking about Michael Scott's character.
No.
Oh no, I know you're talking about. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know his name neither, but he's always
David Koechner. That's his name.
Okay.
Like I googled what he looked like with a full set of hair because like he's had the same hair.
Yeah.
Like my entire adult childhood. But anyway, my final question too, and I'm sorry because you're a huge Star Wars and Star Trek fan, and I hope that you have watched this. How did you feel about Obi-Wan?
I have not watched Obi-Wan yet because look, I'll be perfectly frank.
Okay.
After the sequel trilogy, I really got very burnt out on Star Wars. Mm-hmm. You know, and I hope this doesn't start a whole thing, but I liked The Force Awakens. I hated The Last Jedi.
Same here.
And I thought that Rise of Skywalker did the best that it could.
Yes.
With what it got. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it did what it had to do to try to course correct.
I feel like you're being generous because Rise of Skywalker is hot dog shit.
No, I agree with you, man. I feel the same. I feel the same out of all of that. You know what I'm saying?
But I love The Force Awakens. It's one of my favorite Star Wars.
I think it was a great start, and then it just didn't make sense after that. Really.
After that, yeah, because it's like
because they didn't have a unified vision.
It's like you see the trailers, you see the promotional work, and you think that Finn is going to be a main character, and then it's just like
they did him so dirty.
Jedi
dude.
Comes out,
like,
what happened?
And he has like a new love interest in every movie. Kind of not a strong love interest by any means.
Yeah, no, but I'm with you on that. That makes sense.
I wanted him and Rey to be together. I mean, because it kind of looked like there was something there, and then they just I wasn't a fan of the whole Rey and Kylo Ren thing.
That was so lame.
It felt forced.
They did Ben dirty the whole series. They did Ben during the whole series.
Yeah, he did.
The only thing I hate about The Last Jedi is that he took off the helmet and had the temper tantrum and smashed the helmet. I was like, come on, dude. Because remember when it came out and you heard his real voice, you were like, that's the guy behind the mask. You know what I mean? Like, they already kind of ruined him a little bit. So, and J.J. Abrams doing Star Wars and Star Trek, look at that.
Yeah, that's true. True. So with that being
we done
said,
for real this time?
Yeah, hey, we snowballed a lot, but that's what we do up with Benjamin Banks.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate a good nerd talk. You know,
Absolutely.
No, for sure. Hey, it keeps us young at heart.
And hey, there's no hate here. Like Paul says, all Star Wars is good Star Wars to somebody, and as long as
those are my opinions. I try not to
absolutely.
judge other people for theirs if that's what they believe and feel like and enjoy it. I don't want to take that away from anyone.
No, definitely. But watch Kenobi; it's amazing.
Yeah, I would like to.
Yeah, it was really good. It's definitely better than Boba Fett. I will tell you that.
Yeah, I think the last thing I watched was The Mandalorian, which I did tear up on the last moments of
me and my dad both cried our eyes out.
Yeah,
when he showed up.
Oh my
man, it
God.
gets you.
It gets you.
It's the only time Star Wars has ever made me cry.
Dang, that's why I cried for Revenge of the Sith, because I thought it was.
I was too young, young
bro.
Travis
We
won't sensitive like Travis is with two daughters.
Oh, okay.
Now, I mean?
That's fair. That's fair. I'm trying to remember. Like, I don't think that myself. I would have cried during those ages. Now I can
it
cry.
was 2007 when that came out. 2006, 2007,
2005 was.
Oh, bro, Revenge of the Sith.
For Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith, because 99 was episode 1, 2002 was, or 2003 was episode 2, and then 2005.
I thought it was like 2007. Dang. But anyway, we're here at the end of the interview. Corey, thank you so much for joining us, man.
You're very welcome.
Awesome
it's been
guest.
a pleasure.
Before we let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you.
I'm on. I'm just Cory Yee. That's CoryYee on Twitter and Twitch. Those are the best places to follow me. So I stream, and then I'm also on Twitter doing stupid bullcrap that no one cares about. So as it is what to do.
And Trav, where can everybody in social media land find you at?
That's right. You can find me on the Instagram at ZK Audio. Woo! ZK Audio. I'm also on the Twitter at TRAVIOSZK, where I'm also on Letterboxd, ranking and rating my daily movie watches. And right before this, I watched Emperor's New Groove with my oldest daughter. Absolutely love that movie. I still think it's the best Disney cast they've ever put together as a whole. And it's a 5-star film. I love Emperor's New Groove.
I just watched it for the first time this year.
That's right. What'd you think? 5-star?
I don't do 5 stars. I do like 1 out of 10. I think I gave it like a 7 or an 8, I think.
Hey, that 8 is still 4. That's 4 stars.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
With it.
I love it.
I think so. I got to get back to you on that, but I think I gave it that. But hey, you know where you can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you, everybody, for watching this interview. Please make sure you check out some more interviews that we have here on the channel, along with reviews and reaction videos. Make sure that you check out our podcast, where we have brand new episodes every Tuesday. The link is down below in the description. And then the video of that interview is up here on YouTube on Friday. So like I always say, keep that pinky up, stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you for watching a brand new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure that you hit that like button and you subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content on our channel. Make sure you check out our podcast, where we release new episodes every Tuesday, and the video of that episode is uploaded on Friday. And you can find new episodes of our podcast on all podcast platforms. Make sure you follow all the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks social media accounts at Leveling Up Banks on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, we have a Patreon. If you're feeling generous and would love to donate to us, it's at Leveling Up Banks. And huge shout out to our patrons. We really appreciate you and thank you for the support. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks.